Excellent. So as we go, please know that the slides will be available to download. You also can definitely reach out to me and my program manager, Michelle Malero, by email later. So don't feel that you have to scramble to get everything because I'm going to run through a lot of stuff today. And also, please use chat when you have questions, and we're a small enough group that really we can, you can unmute and ask questions along the way too. So this can be kind of informal and hopefully interesting. I'll tell you why it's interesting to me. So my actual title is Internship and Employment Coordinator, which is kind of weird when you're talking about technology. You're like, aren't you someone that's in technology? I'm like, absolutely, I am. I actually have a background in computer science. I went and got a traditional computer science degree from a university. And while that's a great path for a lot of people, it was expensive for me. And it was also, I didn't have a job at the end of it. And I was like, well, why not? What I ended up doing was getting an internship at a company called Adobe, which turned out to be a really life-changing experience. And one, it taught me that learning by doing was really how I learned best. It also showed me all sorts of areas of building with projects and building with teams that I never had an experience to do in school. And I wish I had had that experience earlier. So that in turn led me to spend 8 years as a developer at Adobe, writing everything from C++ apps to web apps and beyond. This was around the time when cloud computing became a thing, and I got into a leadership role and an engineering management role, and was one of the first engineering managers for Adobe Creative Cloud, where I led and then managed teams for about 7 more years. So kind of about 15 years at Adobe. And great company. I had a chance to work with people from all over the world. I had a chance to work with amazing software. I had a chance to migrate them from old school servers to AWS. And we'll talk a little bit more about cloud computing in a second. And again, great experience. But what I really liked was working with my team and helping them develop their skills and move forward in their careers. And so I was like, I wonder if there is a way I can actually use these skills and come somewhere where there's people doing this all the time. And that's when I started working at North. I thought I was going to come over for like 6 months to a year. I've been here for 5 years working with students in this program. I've met who are now, professionals out in the field. It's been fantastic. So my job is kind of half working with you folks, I'd say 75 working with you folks, the students, doing everything I can to help get you an internship and a job. And the other half is working with our employer partners. So getting them to engage with us, getting them to hire our students, of course, teach classes occasionally. So that's kind of my story and how I connected with this program. The program, if you were in the introduction, you heard a little bit about what these applied baccalaureate degrees or BAS degrees are. The general idea is you come in with either an associate's degree, so maybe you come, directly high school associates into our program. So you do 2 years and then 2 years with us. Or we have a lot of folks that have come in with associate's degrees from other schools or bachelor's degrees that are unrelated to tech. So we have pretty diverse age range, people from various walks of life, different jobs before, all coming together to kind of do a few key things. The first is learn computer science fundamentals. This is what you need to make it through interviews and get a job. It's the backbone of all the projects that you're going to build. And then we get to jump into the fun part. So these are what we call our practicum classes. And you'll spend 1 quarter working in something like web technologies, learning what are the key technologies that are most relevant right now. And then the very next quarter, you get to do a long-term project with a group, usually for some client. So usually there's some external client that wants us to build an interactive web application, a mobile application, migrate them to some cloud computing platform or something like that. So those are the core areas: web, mobile, cloud, and data science. And we'll dive into those. In addition to that, everything we do, we try to sort of push it towards a group project, because that's what you're going to do when you are out in the field. That's what employers want to see. These projects that you build, they're not just good for learning. They go on your resume, they go on your LinkedIn profile, you talk about them in interviews, and they are really the difference between someone who comes in saying, I just have a degree versus I have a degree and I have these projects. That makes a huge difference in getting a job. And I know this because I've gone through, not only have I hired dozens of people, but I've also gone through tens of thousands of resumes and hundreds and hundreds of interviews over the years. So I have some experience in this. Our students have experience with this. But I want to talk a little bit about the technologies, because why did we choose these four sort of tier areas of technologies? So I had a question, if you have a bachelor's degree and unrelated, how would this work? Yeah, so plenty of people have done this. We've had people come in with actual marketing degrees, accounting, nursing, I think fashion design before. Basically, a lot of your credits will transfer over for the first 90 credits. You may need to take a couple of prerequisites. So our prerequisites are pretty easy compared to a computer science program. A college level math course, an English course, and then basically 4 courses in programming. And there's a lot of different options. Our program manager, Michelle Malero, can actually walk through whatever your old transcripts look like and kind of give you, hey, here's the rest of the courses that you need to take. And then you would be able to join in a fall quarter. So we always start in fall quarter. So hopefully that's a good answer. Awesome. All right. So I use the example of Instagram because it's one that, even if whether you like the politics of Facebook and Instagram or not, doesn't matter. You know what it does. And you know that it makes a ton of money and has over 1 billion users. It's probably on a number of devices that are sitting around you. So what we chose with the AD program really fits in with the model that you can sort of dissect with this. And I want to kind of ask a question, which is, what is Instagram? It seems like an odd question, but if you were to say one or more of these options, what would you say fit Instagram the best? Is it just a mobile app? Is it only actually something else? Is it only a web app? Is it something else? Okay, super interactive. So all of the above. Yeah, I mean, I gave you kind of an easy one here in that it very much is all of the above. About 2 years ago, you could have said it was A, B, D, and E, since web app was kind of not really quite there, but actually these days it is. So let's go deeper and see why. Why isn't it just a mobile app, right? That's the thing. You go to the iOS App Store, you go to the Google Play Store, you download to a device, and there's an app, right? Should be something you just write. This particular app happens to be written in a software framework that Facebook created when they took over Instagram. They made sure that they moved to React Native. Don't need to know what that is. All you need to know that the essential thing is that you learn some particular language, JavaScript being the core one. Java and Kotlin are very, very similar languages. We will work with Java, Kotlin, and JavaScript. You may have an option to work with Swift if you want to do iOS development as part of either your mobile class or a capstone project in our program as well. But the essential thing is this can build an app that, yes, it can read your local images, and it could theoretically manipulate them and apply filters and do all of that on your device. But if we disconnect it from the internet, it kind of doesn't do anything, right? How do we actually get everyone's photos together? We need to use a network. And that seems kind of obvious, right? You're like, okay, well, yeah, it's an internet device. Of course, I want to use LTE, 5G, or Wi-Fi, whatever. I'm going to use internet and I'll be able to upload those photos. I'll be able to pull other people's down. Great. So if we just have network devices that are just individual devices, you really wouldn't be able to do anything. You actually need some kind of place for all this to go. And that place is going to be one of Instagram's actual web servers. We call the thing that it interfaces with an application programming interface. You will learn how to create your own application programming interface and use existing ones as part of our web application course. Definitely, it will come back into play when you get to the mobile course, because, as you noted, in order to make that mobile app really useful, you kind of have to have it talk to something on the internet. You can make some games that are standalone, but for the most part, most of the interesting apps that you have and you probably use day to day actually are using web services in order to interact with something interesting, store your data in the cloud so that if my phone goes and falls into the lake, I don't have to worry about it other than the fact that I've just lost my phone. I know I can go onto the web or I can go onto another person's device, pull down the app and pull down the same information. So I didn't actually lose anything, which is kind of the promise of cloud computing, one of them. So they have remote servers and that stores and manipulates the data. Great. Okay, so we have the whole thing, right? Well, it turns out that once we have an application programming interface and a web service, we can make a web app. Instagram took a long time to make a good web app. It's kind of good now. It kind of does most of the things that you want to do on Instagram. And it behaves really similarly. It's, a lot of JavaScript is written. If you've ever used, you've probably used Gmail or Google Maps or any of the Google G Suite products, all of those are web apps. They all use application programming interfaces in the back. Some of them have mobile apps that you can also download for Android devices and for iOS devices and things like that. But primarily, they're made for the web and they're made using web technologies. And that's what Instagram has done here too. So we have a mobile app and a web app, calls web services on a machine. We're all done, right? So this is it. Well, of course, there is a little bit of a problem. Where are they? So that diagram before kind of was a little bit of a lie because it's not like Instagram has a single server sitting under Mark Zuckerberg's desk and everyone's just accessing that. So another trickier question, does Instagram actually own hundreds of thousands of special servers? Is that how it works? Real question. I would say in this one, there's almost no wrong answer because no idea. That's a perfectly fine answer. So the answer, weirdly, is yes, they actually do. I say weirdly because because they didn't start out that way. So I'm going to step back and say, what is cloud computing really? Because that's important. Cloud is just a word that says, I have a bunch of computers and they're connected to the internet and they're in some data center or lots of data centers usually. In the case of, say, Amazon, they have data centers not only across the country, but across the world, so that if there's failures in one place, another one is available. Why do we care about these at all? Why don't I just, put up my own machines and run it myself? Well, that's costly, right? I have upfront costs that would be thousands of dollars. I have to buy rack space and air conditioners and coolants and know how to network things. For a few dollars, I can go up and start up some instances in Amazon, and they're computers that I can log into. I can put on my application programming interfaces up there. I can put my websites up there, and they're going to guarantee me that they're going to be alive and up. As long as I wrote all the code correctly, they will be working. And so we pay a little bit of money to use some of their shared computers. Amazon does this, Google does this, Microsoft does this on a big scale. They all do it on very large scales. There are other companies that do it on smaller scales and you can pay them. At Adobe, we used to do everything in our own data centers for Acrobat.com and other things. We moved everything to Amazon Web Services for the most part. There's a few things that are in fact proprietary. And this saved millions of dollars and enabled us to scale to billions of users rather than tens of thousands of users. So it was a good thing. Instagram actually used to run on Amazon's cloud, but Facebook sort of pulled them in. And so they are running on machines that are essentially dedicated for Instagram and owned by Facebook. So a little bit of a tricky question in that most companies don't do this. Netflix runs mostly on Amazon. Google obviously runs its services on Google Cloud Platform. Microsoft, its services on Azure. Various government agencies do a lot of work on Azure because they give them a really good deal. So the idea is we get to rent time on it. And when you're in our program, we do this, of course, the program generally pays for that time in, mostly we're using Azure and AWS for our classes. It really depends on what the client wants and what the project needs. Okay, so now we have a pretty complete picture, web, mobile, and cloud. We have web services on all these machines. Now we're done, right? We've got everything we need. Almost. It turns out that in order to run a service like this, and I have direct experience with it, you need to know what's going on. And the way you know what's going on is you instrument it. And that's just a fancy word of saying you figure out what people are doing and when there are errors. And the Instagram, you know why they want to know what people are doing. They want to sell ads. Other applications might just want to know, hey, is my site up? If are users encountering errors in the application? One thing, there is some allowance and ethics concerns with things like this. You do want to ask the user that, is it okay that we collect this data, even if it's anonymous? Is it okay that we collect the data when it's not anonymous? Instagram sometimes gets into trouble for that. So, but the idea is that there's all this information coming in and we can use it to make the service better. We call this, the basic process of this data science. And you might think this is a weird way to use this very advanced thing called data science, right? Just capturing the data, maintaining it up in the cloud, processing it, analyzing it to try to get the answers we need, and then communicating that out. It starts with questions. What are people doing? What are in the images people are posting up? Are there dogs in it? Are there restaurants or food? We can actually use machine learning to determine things like this very easily. Some things are more difficult. There are data science problems that are very challenging. This also sort of bleeds a little bit into artificial intelligence and AI. I will say that we do a lot of the data manipulation stuff in the program. We do some of the machine learning. Some of the projects that we've had students work on for capstones go into the more of the AI and generation of content. So you can take this as far as you want. We've got some very smart people that work in the field that'll help you. So this is kind of why we chose these kind of 4 table legs for the program. You need to know the basics in order to do any of this, and in order to get a job. You want to know web, mobile, cloud, and data science today. I don't see the technologies of web, whether or not they're web browsers or not, are really going to be the fundamentals behind so many of the things that we do every day. And then the project-based learning, again, this is how you work in the field and it's how you get a job. Things that make our program different. One, if you go and do a non-computer science program elsewhere, it may not be a fully accredited bachelor's degree. We are. This matters because that is what is required to get most internships, most jobs. It's also required if you wanted to go off and do additional learning. So if you wanted to go and get a master's degree, for example, we have articulation agreements, and we've had students do this at many schools. Go to SU, go to Northeastern, go to Western, go to the UW to get further master's degrees if you want. If you just want to get a job, that's why I'm here. Small class sizes, you're not going to go into 180 people. These are going to be less than 30 people, generally about 26 to 28. When you are in our program, the courses are offered as evening hybrid, which means you can work your day job if you need to, and you meet, hopefully soon, meet physically with your classmates, and then you have other work that you do via tools like Zoom, Teams, GitHub, Slack. We have licenses for everything, so we make that easy. We are a cohort model, and that means when you join with those 26 to 28 people, you stick with that group. So right now we have 2 new cohorts that started in the fall. We'll have 2 new that start this next fall, and so on. And that cohort you work with, you go to the classes with them, you work on team projects with them. These are people that end up being your network when you get out in the field. So they go off to work at some company ahead of you, great. They are your gateway into that company and answer questions. Our alumni also come back and work with us. So we have even a larger group than just your cohort, but your cohort is really kind of your people. Cost is a big deal. We aren't looking to get people in debt. That's not what this is about. Not only will you, I'll talk about this in a second, not only will you probably increase your salary substantially after the program, but during the program, we want to make sure that you have all the financial means available. So if you're coming in off of Seattle Promise, that's great for the first 2 years, but for the second 2 years, how do you pay for that? One, we just have a lower cost than universities and boot camps, but we also have financial aid available in terms of state and federal financial aid, work study program, work source. If you're going from some other field to this field, you can often get worker retraining dollars, scholarship opportunities. We have great people and we know how to dig for the dollars. So don't worry, we will help you. And last but not least, faculty. So who's teaching this? Well, yes, you have your, what I would say, academic faculty. So these are like, I go to take a computer science class, I get it. These people teach that, that's what they do, they know it, that's great. That's fine for your database class, that's fine for your introduction Java classes. When you get into the web, mobile, cloud, and data science practicums, those are generally going to be taught by folks that work in the field or have worked in the field very recently. And we like that because it keeps you current and it keeps us honest. You're learning the things that are actually important right now. And last but not least, employment. So we do all sorts of things as far as professional development. So direct training on how to make your resume and LinkedIn profile attractive to recruiters. Practice with interviews, both practice you can do on your own and in-person practice and Zoom practice you can do. We do career fairs, I run meetups. We bring companies on site and or do Zoom sessions with them. We want to do anything we can to expose you to these great people that can hire you and eventually help you meet your goals. On the right-hand side, we've got all of these titles. These are the most common titles for our program when people graduate. So software developer, kind of a generic title, and that's the most common. And then more specific, so web and mobile. If you look at DevOps or site reliability, those are fancy words for cloud computing. Data science jobs, not exactly top of our list yet. Many of those jobs require a master's degree, so our students are just getting into that. But software analysts sometimes will bleed into that area. And then people ask where our students end up, and it's pretty much anywhere that there is a technical job to do. So this can mean the sort of common tech companies, your Amazons and your Microsofts and Expedia. It can mean some companies that are not tech companies by nature, maybe. So T-Mobile and Starbucks and things like that. And also great companies that have worked with us, like Slalom Consulting, voted one of the best places to work in the state. Nonprofits, startups. It really depends on what your goals are, your skills are, and how that matches with what they need. I often get asked, like, well, how much do I make, really? Most of our students see, after they've graduated within 1 year, about a 70% increase in salary for the first year, and that goes up every year after that. So generally speaking, they're paying for the entire cost of the whole program within that first year with the salary bump that they get, which is a pretty nice thing to look forward to. This information is all pulled from PayScale and Glassdoor, but it matches real data from our actual interns and actual entry-level jobs, which I track very closely. I'm going really fast, so I want to make sure that I show this slide, because this is the person who can help you sort of sort through transcripts, decide what prerequisites you might need, and answer like very specific questions. But I can also stop here and answer your questions as well. So that was a lot. I talked a lot. So now it's time for me to listen. And feel free to unmute. We have a really small group, so. No questions at all. This was all very easy. All right, well,
I just want to say thanks, Steve. That was great. I'm an advisor at Seattle Central who directs students towards that program. So I just want to learn more.
Oh yeah, send them our way. Fantastic. And looks like we're getting kicked out in 38 seconds. But yeah, these slides also, here's our link. And again, you'll be able to download all these slides because there's tons of information here, prerequisite information, cost information, and the entire list of the classes too. So crammed in a bunch of stuff. And you're welcome, Matt. All right, well, thank you all for joining, and I'll see you back in the main session in 5 seconds. Cheers.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Awesome. It's good to have you coming back. It looks like folks are popping back in, so this is wonderful. I see our participant numbers going back up, which is really cool. So it's absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad that everybody had a chance to learn and to grow and to interact with professors and advisors and navigators. This is really cool. So thank you again for being here. What we want to do really in this last set is go over a few things. One of them is there's some next steps, and the next steps, the links are in the chat for some feedback on the event, and very important. Basically, this feedback is really designed ultimately to provide not only you with some next steps, but to give us an idea of, where you headed, what resonated with you, what you learn, things like that. So all three of those, really all three of those, and thank you to the folks again who've presented. We have a lot of folks who've presented, and I know a couple of them are having to leave for class and other things. So thank you so much again for everybody who was here presenting. For the students, we definitely want to just continue to go over those the feedback. Start that now. I want you to click on that, and you don't have to fill it out at the moment, but I do want you to click on that go-seattlecolleges.edu link. And all three links are the same. So whether you're at North or South or Central, or your perspective and you have no idea which college is right for you, go ahead and just click on that. So, and then do fill that out this evening. We've had a lot of students fill that out, and that's great. So, so that is there available for you. And the second thing is, we really want you to be able to complete your application. So this is where I'm actually going to share my screen for a little bit. And I do want to just kind of give you a quick tour of how to access the application and how to get that moving along. Because I do think that's important. And there's one tech glitch that we've had that I'm kind of hoping happens, because I can show you how to get beyond that. It's really easy. But I'll move some things around on my screen, and then I'm going to share my screen here. And again, I really appreciate everybody who's been a part of this. We've had a lot of folks behind the scenes be a part of this event. So, all right, so I'm sharing the screen now, and we have this again is your Discover form. So I want you to click on that link and definitely be able to start this after the sessions are complete here in just a little bit, just a few minutes. All right, so we have some first of all, we have, so if you're thinking about going to North, let's say you're like, I really like North's programs. North has some programs that maybe Central and South don't have, or there are a lot of things that we do have in common. And maybe you're like, I live near North. I'm cool with that. You can always go over to the right side. There's the Apply Now button. All you have to do is click on Apply Now, and bam, you see admissions application. And this is going to be your first link here. Complete our free online admissions application. Pretty simple. So I want to let you be able to click on that. So you click on it and this appears. This is actually, we're going to redo our application. We'll actually have a new application launching either on like June 30th or July 1st, somewhere around there. So this is new to us, but it's actually an older application. It has a couple of quirks. So it would require you to simply create an account with them. It takes 30 seconds to do that. pretty easy. And then you can apply for any of the programs at North. So that's the application at North. So here's South Seattle College. Maybe you're saying, you know, I love that Arboretum at South Seattle College, or there's some programs there that are perfect for me, or I just live in the area. Awesome. You can go ahead, again, same place, the Apply Now link, and you click here, and then you can scroll down, and the admissions application is the first step to enroll. So you'll be able to click on admission application, and bam, it looks the same, but you'll be able to start this, and you can apply to any of the Seattle colleges through the link. So that's a nice thing as well. So that'll help you with Seattle or South Seattle. Now let's say you're like, you know what, I already have an associate's degree. I really want to apply for one of those limited admission medical programs like nursing that are at Central, or I live in Capitol Hill. I'm going to apply for Central. That's great. We'll be delighted for that. Again, you can click on that Apply Now button. Our website's a little bit older than North and South, and so you'll notice that the format is a little bit different. And for you, if you've never applied here before, or you've never enrolled, then I'd say click on New Student. If you have taken classes within the last 5 years, you may not need to do this. You may just need to contact registration. But chances are, if you're here, you're probably, you may not have applied before. So you click on New Student, and then you can literally scroll down. You'll see some things that I need to change out here. You see this nice Apply Now button. You'll be able to apply now and go right to this page. Now, whenever you click on one of the admission applications, you may see a little strange screen that comes up that'll have the word token in red. Token is it's a computer term. Those of you in STEM are probably familiar with that term a little more actually than me. And if you see any sort of error when you click on the application, just go back and click on the button one more time. That's all you need to do. Just click on it a second time, and the correct application will pop up. It's no problem. So that's something to definitely think about. And believe me, we're happy to help out. If you have any issues at all, you can contact really the admissions or outreach offices at any of the 3 colleges. We're all delighted to help. So I will stop sharing that. And an extra thing I wanted to bring to your attention, just so you know, and this is really the last big thing that we'll talk about, is you Discover Seattle Colleges page. You're probably at this point very familiar with it. It may have been where you found the link to join us today. So you see that give feedback. That's going to be actually the Discover Seattle Colleges link you can click on. And then obviously we have a couple of sessions coming up here. This, like each of these, what can I study flyer or the areas of study, I'll show you the flyer. This is actually really, and you can click below the flyer. This is an incredibly useful document. If you know what you want, let's say you're like, you know, I really like STEM. I'm just not sure exactly which way to go. Well, you see STEM there, you see the sprockets that we were talking about at the beginning of the session. And then you see all of the concentrations and the majors. And you're like, wow, man, I really like geology, or I like astronomy, or, oh, and I have no idea. I just need to contact the outreach or the admission offices and say, this is kind of my general area. Can you point me in the right direction? We're happy to do that. And definitely take advantage of our great kind of folks. You think about everything that you learned in those breakout sessions as well. But you'll see C, N, and S. And the really cool thing is it gives you an idea of where are these programs offered. So C, N, S, Central, North, South. Hey, great. All 3 of us have it. Awesome. Or you'll see some like astronomy. It's only offered at Central, or sustainable building science and technology, only offered at South. Or you'll see some that are maybe more at North only. And so definitely keep that in mind. This is going to be a handy document. And again, that Discover Seattle Colleges page is a great place for you to go. And you're wondering, how do I get to that? Chris, this is awesome, but how do I get there? really easy. All you have to do is type in seattlecolleges.edu and click on this first banner, learn more, and then bam, you're right there. So that's the last big thing that we're going to talk about. And then, oh, there's the form again that you can fill out. So again, it's kind of hint. So again, we want you to fill out that form. I appreciate each of you being here. Do connect up. If you're a current student, connect up with your advisor. If you're a prospective student, connect up with the outreach teams and admissions teams at Central, at North, at South. We're all delighted to help out. We're going to stick around until about 5. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask those questions. But otherwise, I think our time here is coming to a natural end. And we really just want to say, you know what? Keep exploring. That's the big thing here is fill out the next steps form, complete your application if you haven't done so already, visit your advisor, and just keep exploring. If you run into any issues, let us know. We're all here to help you. And otherwise, thank you so much for being a part of our 6th Discover Seattle Colleges event. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody. And again, if you have any questions, we'll stick around here until 5. Thanks so much.
Chris, we have a question in the chat.
Perfect.
Matthew asks, do you have in-state versus out-of-state tuition? How long do you need to live here to gain in-state tuition prices?
Perfect. Good question. Good question. And I just realized, Rachel, I completely cut off the video that you were going to show.
That's okay.
I completely forgot about that. We have a really cool older video that we still show here at Central and on the outreach side. That actually, I think it was a student produced video, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, as far as in-state versus out-of-state, Seattle Central, I will actually, and North and South, all 3 of us are incredibly generous, Matthew. We do have in-state versus out-of-state. It's a little bit different here in Washington than in most states. The state colleges are technically state colleges here, and that's very different than a lot of states where they have in-district, in-state, out-of-state, international. We don't have all of those differentiations. So out-of-state is going to be a bit more than in-state. There's something called a residency waiver that we have that our trustees voted on and they approved, and it's incredibly generous. And it says that if you've lived here for 12 months or longer in the state of Washington, then great, you are eligible for in-state tuition. You've lived here for 12 months. You can prove that by your driver's license or utility bill, something like that, or a rental agreement. Perfect. You're ready for in-state tuition. But if you're out of state, let's say you've been here less than 12 months, or you've moved here to take a job. Washington State is one of the top inbound states in United Van Line's survey every year, year after year after year. I'm not from here, but I moved in. And many of you are kind of in the same situation. We have something called an out-of-state waiver. It allows you to get charged. It's like an extra $16 per credit per quarter. And you can actually pay just a little fraction more and basically enjoy a tuition charge that's just a hair above in-state. So that's pretty cool. So instead of this, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 difference, it's like $16 and some cents difference per credit. So if you're taking 10 credits, then it's an extra $160 in-state versus out-of-state, which is pretty amazing. So there is that waiver available. We're happy, and you can find more information on the district's website about that. And then we'll pull that up here while we're talking, but perfect. And it looks like Rachel already found the chart. Awesome. So yeah, Rachel is 10 steps ahead of me on that. Awesome. So hopefully that sounds pretty good, Matthew. That's generous. That's much more generous than most colleges have. In fact, frankly, I've not seen another district say, hey, yeah, we're willing to forego a lot of money and count you in-state versus out-of-state. Great question. Excellent question. I had to actually triple check on that. I didn't believe that when I first heard that. I'm like, no way. This is a used car salesman approach, but it's true. And the trustees actually took a vote on it. So they are absolutely serious about it. Any other questions? Thank you for that link, Rachel. That's awesome. I appreciate you filling that in. Do you have any questions on kind of what's the next step? Does everyone here know what their next step is? And you might, but you may not. And if you really don't know what your next step is, you're like, I don't know what I want to study. This is a good time to bring that up. This is really more a time for more general questions. Excellent question, Matthew. So Matthew's getting at the idea of, and this is, I've known a lot of four-year universities that do exactly what you're talking about, Matthew, where folks are locked into the tuition pricing. That, whatever it is up front, that's it. They have to go through a really serious petition process to get it changed. And I've seen that. That's typically how state four-year institutions will run. Again, we're pretty generous. You can always petition to move from out of state to in-state. And that happens on a regular basis. It is, I'm not going to lie to you, there's some paperwork to fill out, and you'll definitely, there's a waiting process. It's best to get the right, tuition locked in up front. But if you want to start now and you're thinking, man, August is a little bit of ways, I really want to start in the summertime and take some classes and then be able to have the correct tuition charged at the end of September when we come back and we start up our fall quarter. I would say start in summertime, start in summertime. And then as you're halfway through, as August approaches, get your paperwork ready to be able to, and that first link that Rachel provided, the tuition and fees, there's a link off of that that'll walk you through the process. It's a good link. And you can definitely petition to get it changed. And that way your petition, let's say you petition in August, as soon as you're ready, you're at your 12-month mark, then perfect. By the time we reach the end of September, chances are that petition will have been reviewed and approved, and you'll be good to go. So I would say that's probably a good way to go as well.
Chris, are the policies the same across the colleges as far as that tuition waiver for out of state?
Good question. They are. Yeah, I don't know of any differentiation or variance on that because it is a district policy and the trustees had voted on it. That's a really good question because we are, just to let everybody know, we are accredited separately. But when it comes to things like that, particularly the tuition charged, my understanding is that our policies are lockstep because it was the trustees who basically initiated that. And the trustees are appointed by the governor, by the way, so they have a little bit of leeway there when it comes to what to charge. Any other questions?
Question in the chat, when does the next quarter start?
Excellent. All right. Yeah, and I'm with you, Matthew. I'm actually used to semesters too. I've worked, one of the universities I worked for was on the quarter system. So, and we actually ran half quarters. So we ran 5.5-week terms, which was really cool because people could move along quickly, but it's kind of exhausting too. I like our 11-week quarters or a 16-week semester format much, much, much better. So when does the next one start? So you can, I will say as a new student, you'd be able to register. I think it's May 17th is the first time you can register as a new student for summer or fall. And then let me pull up the exact date because I don't have it in front of me, but I can find it quickly. It is, I think it's was it June, I think? That's when it starts. Let me find it here. So I see lots of stuff for spring. I'm flipping through here. So summer quarter begins June 28th. So June 28th, summer quarter starts. And then fall quarter will start. It won't start until I think it's the end of September, very end of September is when fall starts. So it is a late start. I will definitely tell you that. I'm sorry, September 27th. So fall starts. So fall starts September 27th. Good questions. Yeah. And we do start a little later. We always get a little bit